Hello, Taurus. Thanks so much for tuning in. So I pre-pulled some cards for you to make this reading go as fast as possible, because sometimes I just be going on and on and on. So the first two cards out, we have Voyager, which is essentially the tarot card in this deck, paired with the Eight of Cups. So those two cards coming out together is talking about, despite any hangups that you might have about leaving something behind, you're forging forward through any challenges that life, may present you, which is inevitable, mainly because change is inevitable. And with change, there's always the challenge of becoming acclimated to the situation and circumstances. So, and I do get a sense of like sadness too, especially with this Eight of Cups here. Whatever it is that you're leaving behind, it's not something that you necessarily want to do, but it's something that you knew was going to need to happen, especially for like your own growth and development. And because you're ultimately a loner. I'm getting that from these cards here. And no one and nothing is going to stand in your way when you've decided that you're going to pursue something and go after it. And that's the Chariot for you. And then we have the King of Swords paired with Defiance, which is the Star card in this deck. I always have to glance at the book for this deck with these major arcana cards because they renamed them. Sidetrack. That's why these readings are so long. Oh my god. So this card just reminds me of Terminator, because of something it said about fate, and like destiny, and like you forging your own path, and making your own destiny no matter what cards you were dealt. And that's that defiance. And she's got that hammer and she's just banging on this wall. Anyway, no fate but what you make. If you know, you know. And I think that goes perfectly here with this King of Swords, because even though this King of Swords is a little bit rigid and kind of looks like he takes things a little bit too seriously, he's very secure in his skill and his knowledge and like what he's capable of. What he's capable of and what he's not capable of. Like that's part of what makes him so skilled with that sword there. Because he is aware of his limitations as well as what he excels in. And it's like almost like a very humbling type of vibe of, even though they are a boss and they're running things, and they're really doing things their own way, and they are strong-willed, they're not doing it for like ego purposes necessarily. They're doing it, it kind of seems like egotistical, but it's really just like believing in yourself, which really comes out in the next cards here, which we have the Three of Swords in the reverse and the Eight of Swords in the reverse paired with it. So these two cards are talking about either still healing or needing to heal. Like the healing process isn't quite finished from life's challenges, but especially heartache and heartbreak. And life's challenges will definitely dish out some of that for you. But, you know, despite all of that, you're still pushing on. You're still moving forward. Nothing's going to keep you confined. Nothing is going to stop you from going any direction that you want to go, because you have the will and you have the knowledge, and you'll be damned if anybody's going to tell you where to go, how to do it, and then ask you to pay a toll to do it as well. Because you're a boss. You're either like own your own business, or just like own your shit, like very commanding. Like you don't need to brag and talk about your skill when your presence is enough that it exudes. And that's the kind of energy that you're holding here. And you're not without challenges, but you also know without a doubt that nothing's stopping this forward progress. And I feel like it's like a goal of like where you want to be. And I don't think this has to do with finances either. Even though it might be around a job, I think it's just more like in general, like your life. And the reason why I say I don't think it has to do with finances is because so far there is not one single pentacle card here. There is cup cards, sword cards, and major arcana cards. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I got 8 cards down here, and half of them are major arcana cards. So that's probably the reason why you're embodying this will and this like understanding and this knowledge that you know, like nobody can't stop you. You can't be held down. You can hate me now, but I won't stop now. I think that's a song. Yeah, it popped in my head. So then the next set of cards we have out is the Three of Cups that came out in the reverse. And with it is Burn in the reverse, which is the Strength card here in the reverse. It's interesting that they choose to depict this as the Strength card. I think that's what this was. What did the book say? Yeah. Because in the upright, you know, it's like somebody having a whole fight with themselves, like inner turmoil, which is not what I would think about when I would think about the Strength card, but that's what the deck said. It says it was akin to the Strength card. So I'm just going to take my own twist on this card. So with the Three of Cups in the reverse, so again, I'm getting this sense of feeling alone, feeling isolated. And I think part of the reason, like bored almost even. But I think that's because don't allow yourself to enjoy things. You're like, work, 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 work. And again, I don't think it has to do with money. I think it's like this idea that you have and this place that you want to be, and you feel like you're not there right now, so you're going to do everything in your power to get there. But with the Burn card here coming out in the reverse, interesting because that's 3 and 3. I feel like what you're striving for, and you don't realize it, is like spiritual. Like you're pursuing your spiritual beliefs and habits, and like what you consider moral and things like that. Like you're through your work, like your work and how you do that is like, you know, it's part of what's driving you, because it's like what it is that you're pursuing is very personal to you. It's something that you're very invested in, and it's something that you don't feel like a lot of people really understand. And that kind of feels isolating, and that is a little bit discouraging. But I'm also hearing get out of your own way, because like these, again, this, I'm thinking, looking at this card, right? And they're striving, the pine cone's being held above them. Pine cone to me is talking about enlightenment, and it's like above their head, like out of reach, when it's really a part of you. But again, this is in the reverse. So I think these are things that you're starting to that you're starting to understand and at least accept. And this is like you're not fighting with yourself about it anymore. I feel like probably what's happening is, in your isolation and feeling alone and dealing with the hardships of life and heartbreak and things like that, all the while having to maintain and be strong. Life is showing you different things that are undeniable at this point. And you know that they're not coincidences, because they're messages that only you would really understand anyway. And again, I feel like that's really further driven home by like half of the cards here are major arcana cards. And when major arcana cards come out in a reading, that is talking about the divine stepping in, the divine, your ancestors, spirit guides, Jesus, God, Alibaba, like whatever it is you want to call it, on that tip. So where'd that deck go? Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Under my blankie. My kitty blankie. You see my kitty blankie? You see it? Okay. All right, so these were already shuffled. So let's just pull a couple cards for final messages / clarification. Tell me a little more about these first two cards, Voyager and the Eight of Cups, please. The Page of Pentacles. I just heard not imitating real life, not being imitated from life. So with the Page of Pentacles coming out in the reverse, to give further clarification to these two cards, Voyager and the Eight of Cups, that's talking about like, this is definitely something like you are experienced, which we already talked about this. And your experience is from trial and error. It's literally from falling on your ass and then getting back up and still going forward with it. And I almost feel like one of the major arcana cards said something about that. Yeah. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, the courage to move forward. Right. So that's just reaffirming what I said there. Okay. And what about the King of Swords and Defiance here, the Star card? Tell me more about that, please. We got the Magician. Again, further solidifying exactly what I was saying. So this is talking about these two cards. Remember, the King of Swords and Defiance. You are a boss. You are reassured in your skill. And you'll be damned if anybody's going to tell you what your life is and what your destiny is, because you're going to do that yourself. And that is so a magician vibe. Magician is just an ordinary guy that was so obsessed with his work that he got to the status of doing things that other people perceived as magic, but it's really just a deep, very, very grounded and embedded understanding of the elements, and he's able to use them, embed them at his will, because he understands that everything around him is an extension of his self. They are not separate. So this is like you learning that lesson through your defiance, through your will and determination to do things your way, how you want to do it, and the way you want to do it, no matter how hard you fall, because you don't stop. You just keep getting up and doing it again. In fact, almost like the downfall is like the thing that really drives you, because that is not acceptable for that to be the end. Unstoppable. All right, tell me more, please, about... Okay, we got the Two of Cups coming out in the reverse. This is just beautiful. To explain the Three of Swords in the reverse and the Eight of Swords. So, this is definitely talking very specifically about a relationship, a past relationship, not a current one, and it just didn't work out. So this could be talking about maybe every relationship you've ever had. And again, I'm going to go on a limb and say that this is talking about a romantic relationship. If this were in the upright, I would say that it could be just relationships in general. Yeah, I definitely feel that you're single. I definitely am getting a single vibe. And the reason why you're single is because you're just really focused on like what you got going on, and you literally just don't have the energy or the capacity to include somebody with you at this point in time in your journey. It's not that it's not something that you don't want, but I think it's still something that you're not completely healed from. And the main part for that is because you're so like honed in and focused on this forward movement, these goals that you have for yourself, that you just really don't even really make the time for that. And I mean, I get that, totally get that, but at some point, if that is something that is important to you, then you have to choose to make it a priority, or else it's not going to happen. Because as you know, you can't just sit around and wait for life to happen to you. Like, you got to go out and live it. Shoot, where did that go? All right, so let me tell me a little more about the Three of Pentacles or Three of Cups in the reverse and burn in the reverse, please. These ones really stump me because that burn one stumped me. That being the strike. All right, so we got the Empress in the reverse. I'm getting a very masculine energy for this reading. That doesn't mean that I'm talking about a male. I'm just talking about like that type of energy, that masculine energy. And with the Three of Cups here in the reverse, like for me, that's like the party card. And when it's in the reverse, it's like the party's over type vibe, or like you're by yourself. And this particular Empress card, because it's the before tarot, she's got like 2 kids sitting on her lap. It's kind of blurry there. So I feel like this is talking about like you don't really have a family of your own. You know what else I just noticed? 3, because it's the Three of Cups. This isn't a 3 per se, but there's 3 figures. And the Empress is a number 3 also. So you could be seeing repeating 3s a lot. That could be significant for you. I think this is also talking about like having a hard time getting along with other people and incorporating them. And that event, if that hasn't already become a hindrance, it will at some point, and it will become more and more noticeable. Because as much as we want to be able to do everything and be self-sufficient and not have to depend on no one or anything, when we get to that point and we refuse to see the value in other people, life, spirit, God, ancestors, again, whatever you want to call it, will step in and humble your ass. Because other people are here for a reason. They're not just here for our individual shits and giggles. They're not just NPCs, even though some of them are. They can potentially have new opportunities for growth, for advancement, to try something different, because a lot of times, even if it's like a simple idea, we may not think of it because, you know, we're used to like, okay, normally when I have this problem, I just do this and it works. You know, that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you may only be forced to think outside the box when you're like in dire situations, right? When you're faced with challenges. But sometimes you can, by having relationships, conversations, projects with other people, you guys can bounce ideas off of each other, and you can learn new things that you wouldn't even think about learning because it just wasn't in your vision of perspective for you to even, like, you know, attempt to entertain something like that. And, you know, Spirit puts people in our lives to do things like that, to help us have those aha moments. I mean, Spirit will use any and everything that it can to get you to listen if you're not listening. it doesn't have to be so harsh and it doesn't have to be so awful. You don't always have to fall on your ass. Sometimes it can be really pleasant and wonderful and flowing and fun, and you don't always have to be so damn determined to do things your way, how you want to do them. And I totally get that. But we can't be little spoiled spiritual brats and just have our way all the time, because then we're gonna be spoiled brats, and spoiled brats go in timeout. Spoiled brats break down and have episodes, and their whole world crumbles apart for something so small and so minute, because they're limited and they're usually simple. So we don't want that. We want expansion. We want growth. We want opposition only to expand. And sometimes opposition will present itself in other people as well, which of course we hate. But sometimes, things like that happen to show you strengths that you didn't know that you had, to show you skills that you didn't know that you had until you were forced to do it. You don't always have to be forced to do these things, though. What's the final messages / advice for Taurus? Final messages / advice for Taurus. All right, we got the Tower in reverse. What else? We got the Six of Cups in reverse. The Knight of Pentacles in the upright. Okay, so I'm getting like this idea of like you're doing a lot of traveling, looking for a place to settle down. Which is part of the reason why I'm like this card. It starts off with the Voyager, aka the Chariot, because you're always on the go. You're always doing something. You're always moving about. And what it has done is you've essentially avoided some things in life that other people don't get to avoid. Yeah, so I'm thinking of somebody I know in particular who is a Taurus, who does travel. It's part of their job. So, they might not have the normal pitfalls that other people might have, where they have to deal with neighbors that they don't like, or I don't know, just things you can think about, like living a less mobile life. There are lessons and situations that you have avoided, that is a positive, but on the downside, it's like you always feel like you're not at home no matter where you are, because home is where the heart is, as they say. But because you're like always on the go, and just always doing something, always working on something, you don't really spend too much time in the now, which again has its advantages, but definitely some disadvantages, especially when it comes to connecting with spirit and connecting with nature, connecting with loved ones, friends, and family. Like, it's hard. It's much harder for you to do that. So there's there's again, the pros of always being on the go, always having something to do. Definitely some mundane life aspects that are avoided, but a lot of the mundane life aspects you probably miss. It's like a catch-22, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the last card that came out here is the Knight of Pentacles. And out of all the knights, he is the slowest knight, but he is the one that comes through in the end every time. And this is also, is this, no, there's a Page of Pentacles here. He's got his eye on the prize and he knows what he wants. And what is he reaching for? He's reaching for that pentacle, baby. He's reaching for that shmoney. Like it was just waiting there for him. Just chilling in the tree, waiting there for him. Everyone else that, the only reason why he saw it is because he was taking his time and getting there and going slow. And he saw it. Everyone else that was zipping by didn't see it. All the other knights didn't see it. Which I think is in stark contrast to the very first card that was pulled out, to the very last card here, which is that Voyager card. So I think Spirit's asking you, it's up to you. It's up to you when you decide your journey is done. And by journey, I don't mean like your life. Please don't think I'm saying that. But whatever this is that you constantly are on the go for and feeling like you need to work, and no play, I think it's time to reevaluate and ask yourself what's really important to you and what are some of the things that are important to you, but it's time to leave behind. The second card that was pulled. It's needed for your growth, for your happiness, for your spiritual development. And you'll get there because it's the Knight of Pentacles. You'll get there. It's just going to take you a minute to get there. It comes to that understanding. Once you really just take it all in, slow down, chill out, not just constantly be like, you know, but you can't force yourself to do that. You have to let yourself do it naturally. And it will come. It will come when you're tired of missing out on the mundane. When you welcome like stupid things like, I don't know, I hate to say it, but like an electric bill, because it's like the electric is coming out of the sky, right? Like worrying about like your house, like worrying about like having a home, like buying a home, like boring adult things, like having a place that not only you go back, that you call home, but that all of your friends and family can come and see you, and vice versa, you know? When you're done traveling, you're done. Doesn't mean you can't start up again. But this is a really long, arduous journey, and once this knight gets there, and he will, he's going to want to take a breather for a while. So that is the reading that I have for you, Taurus, and I hope that helped you in some way, shape, or form. I hope it resonated with you. Please like my video, subscribe if you want to see more. It really does help the algorithm and helps more people hear the message, and hopefully, you know, it can help them too. All right. Thanks so much. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great night, day, whatever, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Or again, if you're not on this planet, you never know. Okay. Bye.